Let's talk about startup investors. Fair warning, this could turn into a bit of a rant. The typical questions that I hear from startup teams, some who have participated in an accelerator program, others who have just dropped in for mentor office hours, these might include, where do you find investors? How do you approach them? And am I ready to reach out to investors? The questions that I don't hear often enough include, what is the right type of investor for my company or product? Or even better, how do I know who a real investor is and how do I avoid getting scammed? In my last video, I used the phrase people posing as an investor, and that kicked off a number of DMs that I guess people didn't feel comfortable mentioning publicly in the comments for that video. So let's chat about what I have seen over the past several years. People who introduce themselves to tech founders as investors with no additional explanation. Now, sometimes they're in banking, financial planners, real estate brokers, business consultants, or maybe even insurance brokers. But with no additional detail, the myth that they are investors in tech startups kind of ripples through the community completely unchallenged. Now, often this is harmless, and the worst thing that happens is a waste of the founder's time. But sometimes that is not the case, and bad things can happen. I suggest that startup founders treat these introductions the same way they would approach customer discovery research discussions, and look for behavioral signals, look for authenticity and evidence of previous action. That might include, what type of startups have you written checks to in the past? And you can dig a little bit further and ask if they invest by industry or some other criteria, or are they just completely agnostic? Have they invested recently in any local companies or a company that I might recognize? Do they have a budget? In other words, what is their source of funding? Do they invest solo as an angel or along with an angel syndicate? Are they a limited partner in a venture fund? How big is that fund? Is it relatively new or has it been going on for several years? These are all good questions. Do they stumble on these questions, but position themselves as someone who can help you or raise money or introduce you to investors? Now, sometimes this is legit, but rarely. My advice with these wannabe deal makers, brokers, or investment facilitators is to politely move along and avoid them in the future. There are certainly other questions you can ask, but usually this is enough to expose the posers without offending legitimate investors. If you're a startup looking to raise at some point in the future, don't get enamored with someone's surface level hype and jazz hands. If you're not a startup or not in a startup or not currently raising money, you can still help. Don't introduce someone to a founder unless you are 100% sure that that investor is legit and has a track record of being an honest supporter of the tech startup community. If you'd like to know a little bit more about this, if you have experiences like this, or if I've piqued your interest and you have questions, feel free to comment below or follow the link in my bio. Be careful.